What happens now in the state of Maharashtra now that the governor of the state has sent a report recommending president's rule in the state of Maharashtra following the deadlock in forming the government? Will the claims by the Shiv Sena and the NCP saying that they need more time to be able to try and come up with an alliance there hold any merit? Will the Supreme Court say that they should have been given more time? And what happens before this proclamation of president's rule takes place? Can the court step in? Should the governor be doing anything different? Was the governor right in declaring this whole thing without having conducted a floor test? That's sort of the questions which are all at play right now with today's developments and the continuing deadlock in Maharashtra with forming the government there. As you remember, the BJP and the Shiv Sena had a pre-poll alliance, but they've not been able to form a government. Now the Shiv Sena is looking at forming a government alongside the NCP and the Congress, but there is obviously a lot of differences to iron out. Now the governor first called the BJP, then the Shiv Sena, then the NCP in that order to ask them to form the government. The BJP just said, we don't have the numbers and didn't make any attempts. The Shiv Sena and the NCP have asked for additional time to be able to form a government, but the governor has refused. And that's the context behind which this report on recommending president's rule in the state has gone. Now, what is the law on this point? Well, there's pretty much only one case which really deals with this, and that's the 1994 decision of the Supreme Court in the S.R. Bommai case. Now, what they said there is that at the end of the day, this decision on whether or not a government can be formed is not about the governor's individual assessments or discretion or what they think could happen and whether the allies will be able to work it out. The only way for the governor to really take this forward is to conduct a floor test. Now, so far, so good for the Shiv Sena. Now, they filed a petition in the Supreme Court saying we weren't given time to be able to figure out our alliance and then conduct a floor test. And without having conducted a floor test, the governor is planning to take this forward and not give us a chance to form a government. This is something which you'd imagine they would be able to win on. If you look at even what's happened in the Supreme Court recently, whether it was the Karnataka case or the Goa case, the court has consistently emphasized that they have to look at the question of a floor test. It's not about the governor's individual thought process or what they're looking at. Simply done, go and see if a floor test is going to give you a result. Once that's in the bag, then the governor can take further actions or then further things can be done. But if the alliance or group of people wins a floor test, then that's it. And the whole thing ends at that point. Since that has not happened here, you could see that would be something the court would hold. But the difficulty for the Shiv Sena and the NCP and the Congress in this circumstance would come out of how much time they get. Because now if they've at one point asked for 48 hours and 72 hours, and essentially 24 hours is not enough for them. If they can wrap it up sooner, then that is to their benefit, because the court is not likely to give them a long period of time for this. If we look at the orders passed in the Karnataka and the Goa cases, they was to get the thing done within 24 to 48 hours. And that's the basic question here. If there is a floor test within 24 hours from tomorrow, so let's say the Supreme Court takes it up on an urgent basis tomorrow morning, they say, fine, conduct a floor test within 24 hours. Will the Shiv Sena, Congress and NCP be able to get their act together and get their alliance together? That's probably what we're likely to see happen here. Will the court say, no, actually, you know what, the governor is fine with recommending president's rule without conducting a floor test? Not sure. We'll have to see what they do. Following precedent, as we said, it's likely they'll ask for a floor test, but ask for it within a very short period of time. Now, that is where they will have to get their alliance together. The other complication which would come in for the Shiv Sena, the NCP and the Congress is what if the president issues a proclamation of president's rule before that time itself. Now, that creates a procedural hurdle because then you have to also challenge that in the court, and there you have to come up with grounds against that as well, rather than just saying that the governor should not have been able to send this report. So they would ideally want to be able to get this whole thing done before a proclamation of president's rule comes from the president. So that's obviously a breaking news situation. So keep following the Quint for all the updates on that. As of now, remember, the only law on point is S.R. Bommai saying conduct a floor test, and recent precedent the court saying do it as soon as possible. So that is what we should see. We should have seen till now, and what we should see going forward, provided the court is willing to give at least some reasonable amount of time to these alliance partners to be able to get the numbers ready for a floor test.